I want to welcome everybody and everybody that's online. Hope you're enjoying this beautiful Sabbath day. There's an article in January in the Good News, and it's about what Aaron Dean wrote about Mr. Armstrong, 40 years in the wilderness. And I don't know if any of you got to read that, but it's really interesting. But another side of that story is when they were up in the mountains, it was about a 4.5 to 5 hour trip in Jeeps to get to where they were going. And it's a pretty primitive area where they're at, very little electricity, and the water systems and all that were kind of challenging. But when they were there, Michelle Dean needed to use the restroom, and she asked, where are they at? Queen I guess, anyway, she said, wait a minute. So the Queen went to the restroom facilities, and she actually cleaned it for Mrs. Dean, from top to bottom. She could have asked any of her servants that were there. She could have asked her bodyguards, but no, she did it herself. Then, when she was all done, the Queen actually gave the towel and her own water to freshen up. As we approach the Days of Unleavened Bread and the Passover, do we have that attitude of like the Queen? I want to go to John 1. Start in John 1. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour has come, he should depart from the world to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. In Luke 22, verse 5, I'm just going to read it here real fast, is that Jesus really fervently desired to keep this Passover with all of his disciples. In verse 2, the supper has ended. In verse 3, Jesus, knowing that the Father has given all things to his hand. So he had to make that decision. In verse 4, I'm going to read in verse 4. Rose from supper, laid aside his garment, and took a towel and girded himself. Now that changed his whole look altogether, from having being a priest or a master or a teacher. When he took that garment off, put that towel around him, the disciples at that time didn't know what's going on. After that, he poured water into a basin, verse 5, and began to wash the disciples' feet. So when he put that garment, that towel around him, he looked like a servant. He looked like a servant it's a very low type of job that somebody would do. He washed the disciples' feet and wiped them with the towel that he had girded himself. Then he came to Simon Peter, and Simon Peter said, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? And Jesus answered to him, what I'm doing you don't understand, but you will know after this. Peter said to him, "You shall never wash my feet." You know, let's just look at a couple things about why Peter would even think about this. Look at some of the miracles that Peter and the disciples actually seen. In Matthew, it talked about feeding the 5,000 with just 2 loaves of bread and just some fish. That's one miracle. And another miracle, Jesus walked on water. And Peter said, "Command it that I can go with you." And Peter did. He walked on water until he looked away from Christ. And what happened? He lost sight. So Peter knew everything about Christ. He knew who he was, and he knew that he should not be washing feet. In verse 6, then he came to Simon Peter, and Peter said to him, "Are you going to wash my feet?" Then when Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, are you washing my feet?" And Jesus answered him, "What I'm doing you don't understand now, but you will know after this." Verse 8, Peter said to him, "You should never wash my feet." We already said that. Verse 9, Peter said to him, Jesus answered, "You should never wash my feet." And Jesus answered him, "If I don't wash your feet, you have no part in me." Verse 9, Simon Peter said, "Lord, not just my feet, but also my hands and my head." So Peter really, at that moment, decided that he wanted to be part of Jesus Christ. He wanted to do what is right. So, in verse 12, I'm going to skip down to verse 12. So, when he had washed their feet, take his garment, and he sat down. And he said, "Do you know what I have done?" One of the lessons that we could learn is that this is a lesson of humility. I know that I don't want anybody to wash my feet. But do we have an attitude, a good attitude, of being served? Do we have a good attitude about getting served? One year, well, actually, it was just shortly after my accident, and I just barely got out of the hospital, and Mr. Rex Sexton came up to my place. He visited with me, and one of the saddest things was seeing my boat going down the driveway when he was going to camp, because I'm not with it. During the week, I text Rex, tell him I'm coming down to camp for a couple days, and he said, "Come on." So I went down to camp on a Thursday, and as I was we got there about lunchtime, and the program director from Idaho, Dave, he said, "Come on, Lynn, I want to take you down the water ski," because that's where I wanted to go, to see the water ski crew, because I was the one that was running the water ski crew, and I wanted to be there. So I got in his car, and I tried to buckle my seatbelt. And I couldn't buckle it. I had a hard time buckling it. It wouldn't buckle for me. I couldn't reach around. My range of motion and pain was just absolutely horrible. He jumped out of the car, ran around to my door, opened my door, and says, "Lynn, I'm going to buckle your seatbelt." And I looked at him, and I said, "Dave, I can buckle my seatbelt." And he looked me right in the eyes, and he said, "Lynn, you served many, many people for many, many years. It's time to be served." So with that instant, I really kind of had a better understanding what Peter was going through. He knew who with Christ was. He knew what he represented. He wore a garment that said, "I'm a priest, I'm a teacher, I'm a master." And it's in the Bible that says that many, many times. But when he took it off, he humiliated him down to a servant. So when somebody asks, "Can I help you carry something? Can I help you do this?" Yeah, we all serve one another. Absolutely. We do a good job. But when it comes to, "Can I carry that box for you?" "Oh, I can get it." Yeah, you can probably get it. But maybe that person needed to serve you. You know, when the spring holy days are coming, we got 31 days before the Passover. Are we going to? It's a routine that a lot of us been doing for many, many years. It's more than just a routine of just washing each other's feet. It's something that we really need to think about, our attitudes and why we're doing it. Yes, Christ set an example, but years of doing it every year for many years, we might lose that a little bit. It's just a routine, but it's more than a routine. So when we are cleaning our homes, getting ready, getting rid of all the unleavening out of our lives, think about what Christ did for us and think about how we could help one another serve even better.